Okay, so the system is loading. If we're live and we don't know it yet, just give us 1 second. Everyone, hello, hello. I'm Sarah and this is Michelle. And we are just testing here to make sure that we are live the way that we should be, and we are. I can see on my phone that we are officially streaming now. So hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'm Sarah. I am blessed and grateful to lead this amazing community of women on a spiritual path, and this is Michelle Rockwood, and she's here to talk to us about money.
Woohoo! Yeah, hi, I'm Michelle Rockwood. I'm the founder of Personal Sales, and I do love to talk about money. I love to coach about money and all the things, and I also just adore you, Sarah. And it just has been one of the greatest gifts in getting to know you. So if you are one of Sarah's clients, like I was just thinking today, I was like, oh, I miss you on Voxer. Like I having you like in someone's world, like energy, like you're like the caffeine in the morning. You're like that shot, you know, like whiskey. You're like, yeah. Anyway, if you're not working with her, you should be soon because yeah, you're badass and I adore you. And I'm happy to talk today about. I really, Sarah, like I know we kind of went back and forth about what exactly to connect about today, and I think really it's how to talk to yourself about money. Like how to talk to yourself is almost a theme that's been going through my mind this week about it just in general. Like that's one thing coaching has really given me is an ability to successfully talk to myself and not be angry and mean and judgmental and all the things, and to love on my anger and gremlins. And that's also true for money. So I'm really excited to share lots of things with everyone today.
So I like to start kind of just from the beginning and talk about the energy of money and, you know, how that relates to our energy system and our path in this world, because it is it's the elephant in the room everywhere you go, right? And nobody talks about it, and it limits us from following our heart because we have this perceived mind created limitations as of what we can and cannot afford, what we should spend our money on and what we shouldn't spend our money on, and how much money there is available to us. And that is one of the things that I love about you, the fact that you just call it like it is. And it's like money's neutral, money's just energy, and it's how much you have or how much you don't have. It's really all about you and not really reality.
Okay, so you touched on two things there that I want to pick up. Reality. Like, one, money is fake, right? We made it up. It used to be rocks and we would trade it with each other, but it's this made up thing, and it's literally an exchange of money, right? Or of energy. I'm passing the ball to you. I'm energetically putting it in your bank account. And here's what you're energetically going to do to somebody else, and it passes the ball. You also mentioned society, our programming, what we've been told is okay and not okay to think, to say, to feel. And it's really cool because all I think, and in my experience, like reprogramming all the shit from life is hard, right? Like it takes years and years and years, but reprogramming your thoughts around money can take a weekend. It's really, really neat. And we're going to talk today about some practices that you can put into play about how you talk to money that can make really big changes. So just in the beginning, like you're saying, okay, you're in a restaurant. Are you allowed to say what you make to your friends? No, you know, I am now. I say it all the time, right? Like get new friends. And right, but are you allowed to say these things? Are you allowed to talk about money, and in what way? You know what I find interesting, Sarah, too, is okay, you're allowed to talk about what you're making if you're not making very much.
That is so true. And then once you start making, like there's this energy that comes that it might seem egotistic to brag.
Yep. And so if you're like, oh, money, I don't have anything, that's okay. And we actually want to talk about money, you know, so we're programmed to talk trash on money, to lean into our anxious feelings. And I actually have some very well-to-do friends that have bullshit money story, pretend money stories that they share with people. And I just roll my eyes, and we all do, but they're trying to fit in with society. You know, they're trying to fit in. So they go, oh, I don't know about this money decision. And you're like, you're trying to decide between like the Tesla and the Mercedes. Like that's, you know what I mean? When in reality, so you even make up these stories to fit in with society. And that's what we're doing all the time. So how do we stop, right? We know what's wrong. We kind of know how do we stop? And the first step is to notice it. And so like just what Sarah and I are describing, notice when you're at dinner and who speaks up about money and what they're making, it's the person who's making the least, you know? And so how do you try to shift that? Like first thing is just to notice it, don't do anything. But the next meal you go to, share a win that you feel comfortable with. Yeah. And it can be like, I just signed a new client. I just launched my group coaching program. Wow, I'm getting paid for what I love. You know, start with some safe stuff around people you love, and then you can get deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Let me pause you there for a second. Hi, everyone. If you're watching live, just say hello in the comments. We're talking about money, the energy of money. And if you watch the replay, make sure that you say hashtag replay when you watch this later, and feel free to ask us any questions as we keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what has been, Sarah, your like money story, for example, like growing up, what is the thing that plays in your head? Is it, you know, scrape and save and work really hard? Is it spend? And then what's kind of your, out of curiosity?
So, you know, my parents were, so I come from a third world country, right, in El Salvador. And we were like, I don't know, middle class, Catholic school kind of part of society, and there was always this kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, and so we always ended up spending more than we really had, and that was that's a big part of my story. And the other part is also the fact that you had to work so hard to get your money. So the more you worked and the more tired you were at the end of the day of how hard you had worked and struggled to get this money, that was your pride, that was your sense of self, that is like how good you were, that you worked so darn hard. And so those are two things that I've had to really work on myself to reprogram, to like just try and live within my means and see what I can afford, manage cash flow better. But also and that one, you know, I'm doing all right with, but the fact that you have to work so hard to get your money, that one I still work too much and work too hard, and I have to work really consciously to keep my life in a balanced place.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just that acknowledgement is everything you described is your parents, is not you, is not your story. If you decide to change and shift it, and it takes work for sure, but how can you consciously shift? Like, what are you doing when you feel that sense of pride at the end of the day because you worked hard, even though, right? Like it's ingrained into us and you're exhausted. So what do you do to start to shift and wiggle that tooth and make a change?
Yeah.
For the next generation or for you in the future.
Yeah,
right?
So like a simple thing that I've implemented is I work long days because just yoga in the morning, yoga at night with the people, right? So I make sure I have time in between clients, at least 30 minutes. I take an hour for lunch. I take like 2 hours in the afternoon to go for a walk so that, you know, I come back from my afternoon clients refreshed instead of kind of just going all day long. Like those are simple things that have actually helped me to balance my life so that I am not working as much as I could. I think another thing, you know, now that I'm doing some introspection, is that investing in yourself. Like I remember when I first signed up for like my first training in Reiki or yoga, it was like, oh my God, this is so much money. How am I going to spend that much money on myself? Like it's okay to spend on other people, but it's not okay to spend in your own personal and spiritual growth, right?
Well, let's talk about that, because talk about programming. Right? Like that is what we were taught, and we were taught to spend on higher education. And I have no problem, my spouse has no problem, my parents have no problem, my friends have no problem supporting me around spending 50 grand to get an MBA tomorrow. No equivocation. A bank doesn't have a problem. A A bank will give it to me in 10 seconds, right? Like nobody has any problem, right? But the 15 grand I spent recently, right, on the business coaching program that already netted me 10 times that, everybody hated, right? My spouse wasn't sure about, my parents were like, still aren't understanding. Literally, you couldn't get a loan if you wanted it. You know what I mean?
That's
like
right.
Nobody understood. And that's because we've been conditioned, higher education, even though it's failing the hell out of everyone, right? It's just failing dramatically. Who
That's
cares
right,
about the results?
because the things that I've learned from my coaches and my spiritual teachers are worth so much more and have made me so much more money than anything that we ever learned in school. It's kind of ironic. And yet people can't justify it, they can't explain it, and it all comes back and multiplies itself because you're shifting your mindset, you're shifting your energy. And when you do that, the universe has no choice but to reflect that back at you and to support you. And in order to do what you want to do spiritually, we live in a world that requires material resources. So then the universe just gives you that so you can go on your merry way. But if you are not in the right mindset, you are literally limiting yourself just with the way that you perceive.
Absolutely. So how do we start thinking differently about investing in ourselves? And for me, for my clients, right, like that's thinking about yourself as a business entity. Because when you can think about yourself as the business, what do you do for your business? You hire a consultant, you hire a tax advisor, you hire somebody for marketing, you hire and you do all these things to invest in the entity. So whether you're starting your own business, even if you're working from somebody else, we're often now home, right? We're all home by ourselves. And so starting to think of ourselves as this like business entity is a little bit easier. Right? I need to watch out for myself, invest in myself and my own personal growth, where you used to get this from the workplace more. You would have mentors back in the day. You would have leadership and personal development investment. You would have people coming in for tax advice and all. You'd have we have the structure in place, but it's really not there. And it was probably inadequate in the first place. So when you start thinking about yourself as a business entity, making a $5,000 investment in yourself is very small.
It really is.
And
for what you get. And we're shifting right now, and it's funny because I don't know if you've ever read The Celestine Prophecy. It's one of these books that kind of just has a vision as to what the purpose of humanity is, and the evolution, I should say, of humanity and how it works. And one of the things that it talks about is how at some point, once we get to a certain level in our evolution, our economy is going to shift. And it's going to move away from a product service economy to, yes, then a service-based economy, but most importantly, a education economy of teaching each other what we know. And as you know, up until a few months ago, I had a little yoga studio, a brick and mortar shop, and then I moved to Utah and I had to shift to go online. And up until not so long ago, I had no idea that this entire world was out there of coaches and teachers on Facebook, like literally teaching each other what they know about money, about spirituality, about sexuality, about business, about everything, about mindset, about all of that. And it's just right now that I'm talking to you that I'm starting to realize, like, that's interesting. You're right. This is not even something that I was aware of a few months ago, and that I didn't even, I invested in my spiritual teachers and stuff, but not on coaches like this. Classes like that, people teaching each other. And when you look at it like as a business, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's what I've done in the last few months. I've invested so much in myself to learn this whole new online world that I had no clue existed.
And you are running a business, right? And so it's like, oh yes, this has paid out, in my growth of my business. But even for the individual, for the stay-at-home mom, it's costing you when your marriage isn't working. It's costing you when your kids aren't getting the best of you. And it's not just costing you, we could say, oh yeah, it's costing you emotionally in these relationships. guess what marriage counseling costs, right? $150 a
Yeah.
pop, $20 for the babysitter. You're at $500 a month, no problem. Like,
Even the
you know, go for it.
opportunities, like right now, the opportunities that you miss because you're not in the right mindset. So you're right, and I work with a lot of women and a lot of moms, and just in the last few months, I've literally had 3 of my students get brand new jobs that brought in more money than they were making before. But 3 or 4 other students who are buying another house or selling their house and going to another place. And these are things that we don't think about as costs, right? But why would it cost them if they didn't? All of my clients end up making more money the minute that I start working with them. I don't
totally
market
agree.
it that way because to me that's a byproduct of the work I do, not the goal. But it's inevitable. Like if your vibration's in the right place, that's just what's gonna happen because you need the resources to follow your heart.
Absolutely. This is like a concrete example, but and I want to wave my permission wand for anybody who wants to hire a housekeeper. I wasn't down for like the housekeeper coming once a week or every 2 weeks where you like blitz and clean up the house. I hired somebody to come 4 days a week for 2 hours, which in even El Salvador, right, other countries is totally normal. In the US, we're insane and we do all these jobs ourselves. We think we can be everything to everyone. And not even knowing what was possible, like I made that investment in me and in my family. And guess who stopped going to marriage counseling after we got the cleaner? You know what I mean? Like it saved me $500 a month. Guess who got a job that made more than the housekeeper cost? You know what I mean? Me. Guess whose kids were happier? You know what I mean? Like guess who's spending more time? Like psychologists down the road, like all of this because I said, fuck that, right? I'm going to invest in myself and in my family. Oh my God, like 10 times that investment within the 6 months time. So even if you are if you are a stay-at-home mom, like you need the investment the most, right? Like it's the most. And it's the hardest to ask for though, because society doesn't support you. We do. Like we're going to become your people, right? Like hang out here in this group because these are your people and find that support system.
Yeah.
And I suggest a way to ask for support. This like just popped into my mind, but can I?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're listening to this and you're like, oh hell yeah, I want a cleaner to come every day. How do I do that? I want to invite you to seek support in your life versus ask for permission. We walk around all the freaking time asking our spouses, what do you think? Asking our parents, what do you think? I want you to ask yourself, what do you think? Then you put both feet on the floor, you put on your big girl panties, right? Or your boxer briefs, and you ask for support. I want to get a housekeeper to make our family happier. How can you support me in this decision that I've made?
Yeah.
And it's a completely different conversation. And these tiny little shifts can totally transform your home and your life. I've decided to work with Sarah and start to transform my life, my business, the way I think, my spiritual journey. How can you support me in stepping into this? Yeah. No, what do you think bullshit, right? Because they want to keep you safe. They want to protect you. They want to keep you right where you are. And that's often stuck. That's in the same relationship. That's going to marriage counseling. That's comfortable to us, spending $500 on marriage counseling. Spending on the cleaner? No, what's my mother-in-law going to think?
Yeah.
You know, right? All that judgment, all the freaking judgment.
Like it's almost like you are, the way that I perceive people perceive it is you're asking for something because you're not good enough and you don't deserve and you can't do the job and that's why you need the help. And I'm like, no. That's not why you need the help. You need the help because it's a big freaking house. You got a couple of kids, always making it messy. And if you want to be in a balanced place, you need time to go for a walk. You need time for a little meditation practice. You need time to sit down and eat.
Yes, totally. No, it's such bullshit. And who said, like, are we allowed to swear on this channel?
Oh, totally.
Okay, like, who made these rules? I was like, I remember doing the dishes and being like, if this is what being a mom is cleaning the dishes every day, if this is what being a stay-at-home mom is, like, I quit, dude. I'm getting somebody else for this job, you know? But then I was like, if it was in a 9-to-5 job, right? Which like I'm in a different position now that I'm describing, but and I didn't like a part of my job, I would go to my boss or I would figure out how to get somebody else to do that thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm now a business entity, and we're just like all about stay-at-home moms today, right? I'm now a business entity. How am I going to run this business? Yeah. Right? I'm the boss. Not you, spouse, not you, mother-in-law, not you, neighbor. And my business has a housekeeper that comes every freaking day, right? And that shit's great. And it allows us all to make more money, including my spouse, including my in-laws, right? Including everyone.
I also think that it's about the intention, right? Because you're right. If you're hiring a housekeeper because you're just lazy and you just don't want to do anything and you just like can't even deal and you want to like just, you know, do nothing with your life, that's one thing. But if you're hiring somebody to help because you have a passion to follow, because you want to free your time and energy for something that nurtures you and your family, because you want to have like the intention matters. And you hit on something that's really funny that you say, and we're using this housekeeper example because it's so tangible. Yes. And just I told you I grew up in a third world country. We had 3 housekeepers. One was
thank you. Oh my God, can you share it? Like lead with that. Yes, yes. You had 3, right?
One was in charge of cooking, and like the kitchen was what she did. The other one was in charge of keeping the house clean, and the other one was in charge of the kids. That's just how it worked, right? And it was so normal. And that freed up my parents to run a business. And it actually, just for the record, it made me a very spoiled kid. Like I had to then learn to be a grown-up human being. So you also have to like balance that, right?
In America, I don't know. Like, yeah, people are like, oh, your kids should do chores. I'm like, or should they be able to hire somebody? I get you. Like that, you know, it can be extreme.
There's a happy medium, right?
You don't want to hire somebody to do everything. For
yeah.
Sure. I totally.
And I think that in third world countries, this happens because labor is so cheap, right? Yeah. So, you know, for my parents, it was also giving these women who came from the country an opportunity to earn a living that would better their lives as well. So there was a different dynamic than there would be here. But the point is, intention matters. The reason why you do the things you do and why you spend money on the things you spend to, it matters. If you're going on vacation to give yourself a break, to rest, to reset, that's one thing, right? Because you've done the work and you've kind of just decided that you need to shut down for a week or 2 and then come back to your life. If you're going on vacation every month because you hate your life, that's a whole other story.
Escapism. Mm-hmm,
because you can't cope and you're overwhelmed and stressed all the time. That's not as healthy, and that's probably not the best investment of your money because you're just constantly running away from your life instead of actually fixing your life, right?
How do you make your life a place you don't need to run from?
Exactly.
And you love. It's what is kind of coming up for me right here too is when you're speaking to Americans versus my brother lives in Barcelona, so it comes to mind Spaniards, like work ethic. Like for Americans, we're like, chill out, go take the nap, hire the housekeeper, right? For like Spaniards, you're like, get up, girl, let's move it. Like, you know, like it's time to do the thing. And so it's just interesting across cultures. And we are, you know, in the States, both of us. And so we are kind of speaking towards more of the American work ethic.
Yeah.
And that it's okay not to be everything and do everything and pay for that shit. Right, and then the investment comes back times 10.
Yeah. Money's a funny thing because it, you know, even the things that we're talking about can seem so superfluous. They could seem people are like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not important. There's other things that are important. And I'm like, no, because money allows you to go on vacation. It allows you to get the help you need. It allows you to get the training you need. It allows you to take a week off of work. It allows you to go get a massage. Money allows you to do a lot of things. And if you look at it that way, if you look at it as a resource, not your sense of identity, because that's the other problem, right? People want all the money because the more money I have, the better a person I am, or the more big shot I am, or the more secure I am, or the more safe I am, right? And there's this grasping energy to money, and there's this sense of identity, like if I don't have enough money, then I'm broke and I'm not successful, my self-esteem goes down the toilet, right? Because you have this identity and attachment towards money, where if you just take yourself away from it a second and, like you say, look at it as energy, as neutral, then you could actually have the freedom to do whatever it is that your heart actually desires.
So let's talk about that, how we talk to money, you know, and what we say to it and our relationship with it. It's actually the most intimate relationship you're having right now.
Yeah.
It's not your spouse, it's not your kids, it's money. You're spending money right now to have the electricity on, the computer is on, the phone, like it's like literally pouring out of you, and it's coming in. And we're ignoring it. It's like, so often you don't look at your bank account because you're like, oh, what are those, right? You're not loving it. You're saying unkind words to it, and then you expect it to give you something in return. And I want to invite you to make this really tiny, simple shift to stop blaming money. So I know today alone, everyone listening has blamed money already. Your spouse asked you what you want to do for dinner. It's Friday. And you said, oh, we've spent too much eating out. Let's eat in tonight. Okay? Now you just were mean to money, damn it. And money gave you so many things today, right? Don't be mean to it. I want you to say, I really feel like home cooking tonight. I think that would really feel great to spend some time in the kitchen with you. Say what you mean. And I want to question, and so in your mind you're going, oh, but I spent too much money already. You know, do you? Do you really? Or is that conditioned to what you think you should say and feel about what you ate out this week?
That's
right?
right.
So really lean into it. And the first step is even if you want to blame money, don't. I had a friend once say, I can't go to the movies with you. I can't afford it. Really? $7, hon? Like, she just didn't want to go to the movies with me, right? Like, say what you mean. It felt shitty for me. She was lying to herself. She was lying to me. Like, it didn't feel good. And little white lies don't feel good. That's why kids go around going, oh, you're fat. Oh, you're funny looking. Oh, you're da-da-da-da, right? Where we start adding on these white lies all the time. Oh, you're nice when you're not. Oh, I like you. Oh, I want to spend time with you. And these white lies wear us down.
You know, can I shift, because you just touched on something, how we lie to us about money, and that is a huge one. It's like, okay, don't blame money and don't lie to yourself about money either, because one of the things that we do is we perceive we have less than we have because we want to be on this fear panic mode all the time. How many times do we look at our bank account and go, oh my God, I don't have enough. It's never freaking enough. Right? And you convince yourself that you don't have enough, and guess what? Now you actually don't. When a lot of the times I talk to my students, one of the things that I have them do is like literally write down all of your expenses and how much money you have in the bank account, and write down all of your debts and how much money, whatever it is, and look at them. And then every day you look, because a lot of the times they will oftentimes even themselves out. They're like, oh, I have some debt, but you also have a 401k, you also have some assets. You don't want to look at them, and you don't want to admit. It's like, oh my God, the debt. It's like, whoa. What's the real truth here? Are you really lying to yourself that you don't have enough, when the truth is you freaking do? It's sitting right there. You just in your head decided that was for something else and for later. Now you don't want to use it. Now you're staying in this broke mentality that you don't have enough because you're lying to yourself.
So what I heard is driven by fear.
That's
and
right.
You're driven by fear, and you're afraid if that fear goes away, you won't be driven anymore to make the money, to get up, to do the job.
That's right.
Right? So I have to have that fear under my ass. Or
you limit yourself as of what you want to do and what you don't want to do because of what you're saying. You're blaming money, but you're blaming money. It's not even reality.
Right. Right.
I can't afford to do this, I can't afford to do that. And you're saying it's because you think you're broke and you're going to blame money. And not only are you blaming money, you're lying to yourself about how much money you really have, because you do have it. And how dare you blame money and fool yourself into thinking you don't have enough. Do not do what you want to do. And that's got to do with, okay, how about we be honest? I'm scared. I don't want to do this. I like where I am. I don't want to shift. Own it and stay where you are. And then actually, that's actually more loving to yourself. Like, I accept where I am. This journey seems too scary. I don't want to step forward. I'm not going to blame money, and I'm not going to lie to myself and say I don't have enough money. I'm going to own that I'm too scared to move forward, and I'm comfortable where I am. That's more loving.
Yeah, and that feels good.
Yeah.
And this, if you take anything from our talk together, just that shift in the words that coming out of your mouth. It's going to be harder to get your brain on board, but you can change the words that come out of your mouth. And to others, when you feel yourself about to use money as an excuse to not step into the coaching program, to not invest in a new car, right? To not remodel the house, to not go to a movie, right? When you start to hear money as an excuse come out, just start with that. Change your words. And then come back and see what happens.
Yeah, and stop blaming money and stop lying to yourself about money. That's, if you get nothing else, put it right on your, stop blaming money and stop lying to yourself about money. But you shouldn't do an affirmation like that. So I always like to be clear with my speech. And if you're going to put it in the wall, that is not what you should put, just for the record. So you need to come up with the opposite, the positive side of it. Like, I always have enough money for what I want. I am always empowered in my choices. And have enough to have, or I always see the truth about my financial situation. So just for the record, because I'm saying these are the two main concepts: don't blame money and don't lie to yourself about money. But if you're going to put them somewhere, because the mind needs that, it needs reminders, right? It needs tools that it can remember this conversation on a daily basis. You have to put it somewhere in a way that inspires you, that's focused on the positive and where you want to go, and not necessarily the negative and what you don't want. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to apply that, what you just said. And for me, I'm going to write, why do I have enough money? Why do I have enough money to do the things I want to do? Yeah.
The proof of that you already have enough, right?
Why?
How and why you already have enough. That's another thing. If you are focused on what you don't have and the lack of money, that's what you're focused on. That's what's going to expand.
Why do I have enough
expands, right? So if you also want to prove yourself, I just had a student do this exercise not so long ago. Write a list of all the blessings that this experience or whatever has given you, and be grateful for it, and focus on that, and then more of that will come. And sure enough, a week and a half later, everything is shifting, and she's getting more of what she wants because of that tiny little shift. She started to focus on what she wanted and not what she didn't want. And I think we do that with money. If we focus on the debt, as a matter of fact, one of the best tricks I would say that I learned about how to get out of debt, and maybe we'll finish with this, is start saving. And start focusing on, even if it's 1% of your income that you begin to save, and you begin to focus on the savings. And yes, the debt will get paid off little by little, but a lot of people say, I can't save unless I pay off my debt. So they're just focused on the debt, and that keeps expanding. If you shift your focus and start to save, even if it's just a little, now you're looking, okay, you can save little by little. Because your focus has shifted, then all of a sudden, little by little, the debt dwindles away, right? But if you're just, I can't save until I get out of that,
you start to change the shift instead of, you're in abundance now instead of negative.
Exactly.
Can I share one fun thing I do? I'll make it super quick because I know we need to wrap up. We're talking about stay-at-home moms and profit planning and stopping to blame money. And there's one thing that I know everyone who's listening is doing is they're married with kids. You are budgeting once a year with your spouse. And this is the most painful freaking experience. I want to stab myself repeatedly. It is a horrible, horrible thing to do. And I want to share something that I have started, and I love it so much. It's profit planning. Okay, so when you go to do your budget with your spouse, I'll give you my story and you can tell. So my husband and I, he was like, oh, let's do the annual budget. And I'm like, this is the worst. I'm going to go through and add up all the alcohol he buys, and he's going to go and add up all, what a jerk I am. Who does that? You know what I mean? And he's going to go add up all I don't know the runway clothes I'm getting or the yoga I'm doing, whatever, and like, how rude, it's so mean. It's such a horrible, mean thing to do to each other. And we all do it. I know you do. Okay. So what I did instead is I said, I'm not participating this year. What I would like to do instead is invite us to profit plan. So before we look at our budget and where we need to save and cut back and stop eating out and blah, 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 I would love for us to write about our dreams, our hopes, our goals, what we would like to do with our money and where we see it. And my husband was like, what? What are you talking about? And it was really hard for him. And after some coaching, he was like, I want a cabin. I was like, oh, okay, I want to go to Mexico for Christmas. He was like, okay, great. So we put them down and we were like, what do we need to go to Mexico? What do we need for a cabin, right? We started writing down what we need for Mexico, and he was like, sure, we can do that. Are you going to make an extra 10 grand? I go, yeah, I'll do that.
That's right.
I did. We went to Mexico for a month, and guess who's putting together a down payment and has a realtor for a cabin in the mountains?
Yeah.
Us. It was because we profit planned instead of budgeted, and we leaned into, just as you're describing, Sarah, you leaned into what's possible versus college debt or the house we should pay off or the school loans, right? We started to think differently, and it expanded. Those clients came, the 10 grand came, and we spent a freaking month.
Yeah, I know it's funny because we're looking at the time because we said we only wanted to spend 20-30 minutes, and that's our own limited budget time, right? So I'm just so we're gonna call us out on that, right?
I love it, right? Hang up the call if you want.
Right? We had. So I'll just add my own, if I can, my own experience with something similar. I just had, I came into this coaching online situation in August, and people like you who've been in the industry for a while have been completely oh my God, girl, you're rocking it. And I'm like, am I? I don't know. Isn't that what you told me to do this and do that? And then I'll be able to get some students. And so I was talking to one of my coaches, and she's like, oh, well, celebrate. You said that to me the other day. You were like, celebrate. And I was like, celebrate what? Right? Remember, yeah, right? Celebrate, what do you want me to celebrate? Right? But just for the record, I actually did, and I know this might seem like a small celebration, but to me it was a big deal. I went out and got myself a couple of sweaters. This is one of them. Because you said to celebrate, and it got me thinking, what could I do for celebrate? And one of the things is I don't want much. Because I've had it all. I've had the big house, the vacation, the cars, the everything. I honestly, genuinely don't want a lot. I don't want vacations. I don't want adventures. I don't want things. I don't want houses. I generally don't want that. I celebrated another achievement with someone else the other day, and she says to go celebrate, and I'm like, again?
We're learning.
I'm like, okay, let me listen to these girls, right? And let me see what can I do to celebrate. And she said, to tie it up to what you were saying, she said, give your money purpose. What do you want to do with this, new student? Give your money purpose. What do you want? And at first I sat down, and the little monk in me, right? Because I live a spiritual life. To me, I've downsized a lot. I've let go of a lot of things, so I don't have the drama and the stress. I'm like, I don't want anything. I'm like, Sarah, chill. What do you really want? You have to want something. You cannot really want nothing. And I'm like, okay, what do I want? And I sat down, and I'm like, you know what I want? I want to be able to pay my coaches and my teachers so I keep growing. All I want. I've spent thousands and tens of thousands of dollars this year alone on just coaching and teachings and learnings and growing. That's how I want to spend my money. So yeah, I do want something, right? It might not be what everybody else wants.
Love it.
And I had to sit there and actually be honest with myself. I'm like, Sarah, don't be so egotistic that you're going to play spirituality, egotism now that you don't want anything and you're such a monk or whatever. It's like, no, I actually do want something. I want more education, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want. You're allowed to want whatever you want.
I want to pay my staff accordingly. I want them to be in abundance, and that will make me feel in abundance.
That's right. I want to pay off some debt I have. I love to do that. And then I'm like, I live in this busy street, and in a year I have to move. And I'm like, when I move, I like to have some little house that I go to, and I want enough money for that. It might not be much, but it is what I want. And I had to actually sit there and make myself be honest with myself, because a lot of the times maybe we don't even want to admit what we want.
And your comfort zone is that fear Is that working really hard? Is that not dreaming and scheming about what's possible?
And I think it's also, I would say, like the trauma of having strived so hard to keep up with the Joneses, to get so much, to work so hard, to then get into debt, to then realize that is not what I wanted. And yeah, I found my path, and I'm like, I am so done with trying to get, now I've gone the completely opposite way, right? And now in my little traumatized head, I'm like, I don't want anything, because that means trouble, that means stress, that means drama.
Okay, you're touching on something for the next time we talk here, Sarah, is if I have things, I'm bad. If I have in abundance, if I have 3 housekeepers, I'm bad. I'm spoiled. Me having something takes away from somebody else.
Yes.
Right?
And you're just seeing right here from 2 girls who really like walk the path and do our inner work every day. And we're kind of just showing you wide and open, like, this is my trauma about money. This is my experiences. This is what I'm still working on. And like, you're doing the same thing. So just know that there is hope out there, and there's girls like us who are here ready, willing, and able to help you to remove your blocks about money, because it is so complicated. We just touched on a few little things now, but Michelle, did I put the link to your group I put all the info you sent me on the Voxer in the description here, but if there's any other links you want to share, make sure you put them in below, okay?
Absolutely, I will. And yeah, my name is Michelle Rockwood, and I'm a sales coach and a personal coach. And if you are running a small business and you need support around the enrollment conversation and selling your programs or your business or your copywriting, whatever it is, I'm happy to help you out. I work in a large group coaching program, but I do take people for a small group coaching call and audit your coaching calls as well. So
thank you so much for coming live with us.
Absolutely.
Today.
My pleasure. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend, and I can't wait to spend more time with you, Sarah. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.